Now, as Kicker puts it, it's the game that everyone has been waiting for. Der Klassiker, Bayern and Dortmund, potentially a title decider in Germany. And this is why the two separated by just 2 points ahead of the big clash in Munich. Dortmund with the advantage after Bayern dropped points last week. Let's bring in the man who's going to be in Munich. Raf Honigstein, asparagus season as well, I hear, in Munich. All sorts of delights to look forward to. But let's concentrate on the game, Raf. As you pointed out, I read your article earlier on at ESPNFC.com. Bayern haven't been great against top opposition this year, have they?
No. You can make an argument that in all games against real top-class opposition, they have failed to win. Two times against Liverpool, 2 times against Ajax, and of course they lost when they met first time Dortmund back in the autumn when they ran out of steam in a game that could have gone either way. And I think there is a chance that history might repeat itself. Bayern have big players, Bayern will score goals, Bayern will dominate the game, but towards the end of it, when Dortmund will be a little bit fresher perhaps, when Dortmund can make changes that really impact the game, and when maybe a bit of nervousness will creep into the Allianz Arena, if Dortmund are still in it with 20 minutes to go or so, I think they have a real chance of at least nicking a draw, which is almost as good as winning because they are those 2 points ahead at this moment.
Psychologically, Raf, are they in different places after their recent results? Dortmund getting that late win last week. Bayern, what a week they've had. That bonkers game in midweek against Heidenheim and dropping points last week. Are they in different places right now?
Absolutely. Psychology has changed completely. I mean, Dortmund have never been overly confident. They went into the second half of the season, even though they were 6 points clear, saying it's going to be tough. We're not quite sure. It's going to be a long slog. We will have setbacks. Bayern have been very optimistic, very Bayern-like. We will reel them in, no problem. And everything was leading up to that until last week when that 1-1 draw at Freiburg and Dortmund's late win against Wolfsburg changed the momentum completely. And the fact that Bayern conceded 4 goals against Heidenheim, second Bundesliga team, only added to that bit of nervousness. And you could just sense in Munich that the situation is very, very volatile. And all it needs is another poor performance. And they've had quite a few of them for the thing to blow up. And it could end quite badly, I think, for Niko Kovac in particular. Raf,
we saw your potential lineup there for Bayern, pretty close to full strength for the Bavarians. For Dortmund, definitely not the case. Some injuries and uncertainties for them, particularly at the back. What do you see their potential 11 looking like? Well, the good news is that it looks as if Lukas Piszczek is finally back, and he's a big difference because he's the experienced guy. He's maybe a little bit past his best, but still makes a big difference with his organisation, his vocal presence, etc. And Diallo, who's not the best in the left back, but still a more natural defender than Guerrero, is looking as if he might be back as well. So some good news at the back, but some bad news up front because Paco Alcácer didn't even make the trip. And he, of course, is the guy who scores all these important goals. So I think that Marco Reus will have to play as a shadow striker, which I think weakens Dortmund's position a little bit. Well, let's see what the odds makers think of what's going to happen in Munich. Bayern heavy favourites, 2-1 on
Dortmund.
9-2 Dortmund, more than 4-1. 50. You almost get 4-1 on a draw, which would suit Dortmund. I don't know if you read too much into recent history or recent results. Craig, Dortmund did win the home game 3-2 in November, but they've been thrashed on their last 3 visits to Munich.
Yeah, I saw that game in Dortmund. Dortmund really put the gas down in the second half and really opened Bayern up. What I saw was a Bayern team, even though they were down to 10 men against Heidenheim, who once again defensively were terrible, against a team that was second in the second tier of German football, who were excellent, by the way. It was a super game. But I look at that Bayern midfield, Thiago, Goretzka and James, and there's not a lot of defending in there. There's not a lot of defensive players. They all want to get on the ball. They all want to play, particularly James and Thiago. And then Goretzka wants to get forward. There's not a lot of protection for that back four. And I think that's a weak link for them. And for that reason, one of those reasons, I actually think Dortmund can go there and win this game. Because as long as they can, if Dortmund can get their defensive structure correct, that Raf said there's a few issues with, then I think they can win this game in Munich.
which would put the title firmly in their control if they did that. Ali, do you see that happening?
Well, you cannot underestimate the importance of what that game against Heidenheim was like. It's not only the fact that you go down to 10 men and how physically taxing that becomes. It's also mentally a team that was supposed to be sort of a rest for you. It was supposed to be the moment in which you were going to build confidence going into the Dortmund game, that you were going to feel good about yourself. You actually came up with more questions and answers after that match. You get through, you go on, so on and so forth. But I think the damage is done because this is a team that clearly, and Craig just alluded to it, defensively. I mean, you talk about all over the place. You talk about lack of organization. You talk about being disconnected. But I can say the same thing about Dortmund. They lack organization in the back line, and they are disconnected at times. So what I can guarantee you, I don't know who's going to win, who's going to lose, but I can guarantee you there's going to be goals here. This is going to be back and forth. There's going to be goals for no other reason, because these teams can't defend, and they have enough talent to create problems for each of the teams. If you have Lewandowski on top form, he can decide the game for you. If you have Marco Reus on top form, he can decide the game for you. I think, in the end, we're still going to go back to Bayern Munich, playing at home, playing in a game that really and truly matters, and being good enough to beat Dortmund at home.
I think the challenge for Bayern Munich in midweek against Heidenheim was they had one eye on this game, because this is last chance saloon for Bayern Munich. They don't win this, they don't win the Bundesliga title, end of story. But all that being said, up until that game midweek, I would have quite happily said that I thought Bayern Munich were playing by far the better football between the two. Despite the fact that Bayern dropped points last weekend, I thought Borussia Dortmund were very lucky to pick up all three. Huge goalkeeping error in that. At home, last chance saloon for Bayern Munich. I think they get the job done.
Raf, they've won 7 straight, Bayern, in the Bundesliga. Are they going to make it 8 against Dortmund?
Well, I think they are heavy favourites because Dortmund, as you said, have lost there heavily in the last 3 visits. And you would still make Bayern favourites for this particular game. I just think that the extra factor which comes of the importance of the game, and this hasn't been the case in recent years where Bayern were always miles ahead to this point and Dortmund weren't even in contention, will make this a much tighter affair. And we saw that Dortmund have the kind of attributes that hurt Bayern, similar to Ajax, similar to Liverpool. Yes, defensively they have some issues, but going forward they can really hurt this Bayern team. So I think Dortmund are at least good enough for a draw tomorrow night.
Well, enjoy that game, Raf. Enjoy the asparagus as well. You heard me reference his article.
What?
This is the place to fight. It's a great one. It's a great primer for the game. Bayern and Dortmund, the classic. You can read his article on ESPNFC.com.